I am addicted to coffee.
Are you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. A problem in the sense of I have to, like today I was quite good. I haven't had a coffee till now.
Okay, good.
And if this was the second one, then I'd start getting the jitters.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was drinking about 8 cups a day at one point. And when my children were a bit smaller, and then I was like, yeah, it's probably not healthy, do you know? So then I kind of weaned myself off. And then I went to a meeting it was a few months ago in London, and I had 2 cups, and then I was like talking, and my whole body was like shaking. I was like, oh, it's probably not a good look.
I've heard that coffee is good for you, that it's good for your circulation.
Anything in moderation, though, isn't it?
But it's in moderation, isn't it? It's that having too much of it, then that's when it becomes a problem.
I know. Yeah, so that coffee that I had today was the first coffee I've had in ages.
That's really good to do that, to balance it out and find that moderation. But it can be tough to get there.
Yeah, no,
exactly. I think coffee's definitely addictive, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's a stimulant, so it's like anything. But it's I was just thinking, because I used to work in addiction, and that's what we would say to clients, like if they had to drink or they had to like do something, leave it as long as you can in the day to kind of start. So that's basically what you're doing. You're weaning yourself off, which is good.
Yeah. So wait until around kind of like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And not having it as the first thing, because I used to have it as the first thing. It used to be I'd wake up and I'd be like, I need coffee. I can't function without coffee. So actually, I'm doing quite well.
You're doing really well.
I should take a little moment to be like,
definitely.
Actually, I'm doing a good thing. I'm waiting till 11 o'clock to have my coffee for the day. And then I might have 1 or 2 more, but the other thing that I'm trying to do is not have coffee past 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because that's when I'll have problems sleeping.
No, exactly that.
Or even I'll start having, if ever I have anxiety, it's always in the evening.
Yeah.
And often I can link it to coffee.
Yeah.
I can often go, how many coffees did I have today?
Exactly that.
So
yeah, you're doing well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is a wonderful way to start the podcast. Well, thank you for joining me today, Marrisa.
It's a pleasure.
I'm really excited to hear about your new adventure that you're about to go on, the Frequency Machine.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it. What's happening right now?
Okay, so it's kind of happened quite quickly and slowly at the same time. It's a bit of a strange thing, but that's, I think, just the way my brain works generally. So I kind of left my job in April because of stuff like health stuff, and just was finding that I wasn't responding to things in the way that I used to. So kind of had to have a bit of a reassessment of myself and like what I was capable of, I guess, which is I usually kind of am a person that does so much. And so it's been a big adjustment. And then obviously, so like I said, I've kind of worked in addiction. I've worked with children with mental health. I've kind of worked with families, kind of, provide good support, hopefully. And also all different things kind of mainly in that field, with different hats on, I guess. And then on the side, I've been DJing now for about 5-6 years, I think.
Okay.
Which I love, and I've been really lucky to kind of have played some really big events and, had some really like amazing experiences. Mm-hmm. So they're both, I can't say that, well, probably music is probably my love more than anything else, but then I love helping people as well. So it's how do I bring those two things together? And then so with that extra time that I had, I started to, because I love new music. So like John Peel was like, a big idol of mine because he always championed new music and was always kind of like digging in the crates really to find like new artists to bring to the forefront and stuff like that. And that's really a passion of mine. So I spend a lot of time on SoundCloud and like different other mediums to kind of try and find songs and tracks that other people won't play, because it's important to me to kind of stand out and be different, but also to champion those new artists as well. So that was kind of my thinking. So I kind of reached out online to DJs, producers, venues to kind of put on events where I could kind of showcase new talent, basically.
Yes.
So I organised one in Manchester and one in Brixton, because one in Manchester just kind of, well, it's Yorkshire actually, but
it's in that direction.
My geography, it's up, so is it? My geography's never been great. But but the one in Manchester I didn't sell any tickets, sold like 2 tickets, and it is a really tough climate at the minute. Then, so I had to cancel that one. And there were some other things that just nothing was kind of in alignment, unfortunately. Then we had the one in Brixton, and for both of those events, I had 2 really amazing headliners. Because then my other thought was to kind of, because I know what it's like when you're starting out, like nobody pays you for number one, so I was like, right, definitely going to pay everyone.
Yes, yeah.
And often you get put like in a really rubbish bit of the lineup and stuff, do you know, where nobody's there anyway to hear you. So that was the other thing. I didn't want people to kind of, you know, have to go through that because it's really not great. But then I thought actually to be on a lineup with somebody really huge. So we had Mark Archer from Alternate on the first one, which unfortunately we cancelled. And then Lisa Loud, who's obviously an Ibiza legend, on our event in Brixton. And that was my thinking, to kind of mix it up with some really bigger names and then some up and coming talent. And then like people like me kind of, or other people like in the middle, do you know, just to kind of
to balance it out.
Exactly.
And so what's the thinking between, I like the sound of this, where you're getting newcomers and established artists coming together to create something. But what was the thinking and the process behind that for you? What are you trying to achieve there?
Just to offer something different. I think a lot of events, I mean, I've been going out to clubs for a really long time, but it was like 30 odd years or something. And I love it. And I love seeing people that I know and stuff, but I find that sometimes events can be really formulaic, and I wanted to kind of move away from that slightly. But anyway, we put on the event in Brixton, and again, I didn't sell any tickets. It was like I had to really hold my hands up. It was not what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, selling tickets is, I've got a background in theatre, so I know about selling tickets as well, and I know how hard that can be to get the message out there of what you're doing and to ask people to come. It's a very difficult task.
I think so. And I think especially at the current time, like people don't have as much money, and where you do put your money and your time and your energy, it has to be quite focused. It does for me anyway, because we don't have an abundance of everything all of the time, unfortunately. So it was after the Brixton event that I kind of reevaluated everything, and I was like, neither of these have gone to plan. I don't want to keep letting people down. That really didn't sit well with me, and then had an impact on like my mental health and stuff, because it's not, I think putting yourself out there and trying to do something different is quite brave, and I'm not always the bravest person. I try. Like. No.
This is the trying that counts, right?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. But then I had to really reevaluate it, and then I was like, right, what am I doing? It's quite funny, really, because things go round and round in my head like for ages, but it's like on a subconscious level.
Yes,
and then all of a sudden I'm like, that's what I need to do. And I was washing up, and I remember, and I shouted to my partner, and I was like, I know what I need to do with frequency machine. And he's like, what? And it just kind of all came together, and actually it's kind of teaching people a new skill, which is what I want to do now. And that's kind of what I've been putting forward in funding bids and stuff like that. Teaching people a new skill as a form of empowerment, but actually then you create, hopefully, this is what my plan is in my head anyway, that we create a nice little group of people who will kind of go through a 6-week course. So I'm in the process of still writing that up, because like I said to you before we started, I'm going to launch in February properly. So everybody will have the opportunity to attend a 6-week course where they'll learn kind of basic DJ skills. Like, you're not going to learn everything in 6 weeks. Obviously, it's a bit like learning to drive. It's like you can learn the basics, do you know what I mean? But it's not till you kind of
until you do it. But it sounds like you're trying to give them the foundations to start. Yeah,
exactly. But what I want to do, because where I've worked with children before, kind of teaching mental health techniques and stuff, it's like my takeaway from that was, and I was always banging on about it, is that you've got to look at different learning styles, because we all learn really differently. So I'm a visual learner, for example, but other people, would be different. So I want to kind of, we'll mix the sessions up. So it'll be like the basic kind of technical skills, then it'll be like creative stuff. So, we maybe like one session we can design a logo, or think about a DJ name, or how you promote yourself, or how you kind of approach promoters and stuff like that. But and also it won't be for everyone. So we'll offer like the basic one to start with, and then I'm really try not to run before I can walk, which is my one of my flaws, definitely. So once we kind of nailed the basic one, then if people really like it, then they can kind of do more of an advanced level, intermediate level, then advanced kind of thing. But we're going to start with the teenagers through the Essex Youth Service. So we've already been signed up with them, which is amazing. And they're lending us equipment because we have nothing in the minute. So that's I'm really, really grateful for that. So yeah, it's kind of been, I don't know if any of that's made sense, but it's been quite an organic kind of development.
Yes.
But then the take up locally has just been phenomenal. So I've been, really fortunate in that people have really grasped onto the idea. So
what have you heard locally then? What have people been saying to you when you've been sharing this, what you're about to embark on, what you're about to do? What has been the feedback and the engagement from people?
Generally that people think it's a really positive thing, that they think that kids especially will really kind of embrace it, because it's something that isn't offered at the minute locally anyway. Like Bernardo's are really on board. Like I say, the Essex Youth Service, Hollow Council have given us a little bit of money already to get started and register as CIC and things like that, which, you know, is, I just think sometimes I wonder, like, especially about dance music, there's still a connotation that we're stuck in the 90s, do you know what I mean? And everybody's kind of going out to do something maybe not very healthy, but actually that isn't actually always the case.
Has the environment changed then since the 90s, would you say?
I think it's changed. I think it has changed, but I think there's still that element. But then I wonder if, because of the connotation, people aren't given other options. Do you know what I mean? So that's the other thing that I want to do, is kind of make people realise that you can use all sorts of music, it doesn't matter what it is, in a really kind of positive and healthy way. And it's just about making healthy choices and kind of, yeah. And if you don't, like, where do you get support if, you know, you're kind of going down a route that maybe is making you feel uncomfortable, do you know what I mean? Whatever.
Yes.
So that's the other part of what I want to do is, as part of our workshops, is how do you keep yourself safe? How do you keep your friends safe? Do you know, if you're on a night out, you know?
And I guess that comes a bit from your background in mental health, in looking after people and caring for people.
Yeah.
You're now bringing that into your music.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, because I think that's a game changer, actually, do you know, especially for young people, because it's easy, I think, if you are not very confident, or, you know, you don't really know, you're not empowered enough to say no, do you know? And I know I've been in those situations, especially as a young woman, do you know, and I just think, I wouldn't want people to be in those situations. So
This is really interesting that you're bringing this up at this point for me. So I've got some advice to ask you. I'm a parent. My daughter is she's 17. She's starting to go out into the world with her music. She's a live performer.
Oh, amazing.
And one of the venues that she's going into, I know it has a little bit of a bad culture. And so she's saying to me, like, I've got to go in there, Dad. That's where my music is. I've got to go there. What kind of advice would you give in that kind of scenario? That culture there is, there might be drugs in there, because and it might not be, you know, as a parent, you're starting to be like, wow, I'm not sure how far into that world I want her to go, because I was there when I was younger. And some of the things I experienced, I don't want her to experience.
It's exactly that.
You know, but at the same time, I want her to pursue her music, and I know her, like I say, her music is there.
Yeah. Well, I think, in a really selfish way, it makes you feel a little bit happier that like it's everywhere, that issue's everywhere, because I just always think it's specifically for dance music, but then I know it's not, because I like all sorts of music, so I do know that. Yeah. I think it's just finding your people, isn't it, that you feel safe with, and having like a plan, really, because obviously working in addiction, it's not, we work from a harm minimization point of view, so it's like sometimes you can't avoid people, like even your children, you know, doing things that maybe you would choose them not to do. But it's, if you are going to take something, how are you going to do that safely? Do you know what I mean? And if you feel uncomfortable, who you're going to call? Do you know, it's obviously you've already opened up that conversation with her, which is amazing.
Yes.
And I'd say that's probably the key to it, is having those open and honest conversations with your children, because there's no point shying away from it, because it happens, do you know? So it's, I think it is always going from a place of safety. And like I say, I'm sure she's, you know, a very lovely, confident young woman.
Yes.
And it's just feeling confident in your own choices, isn't it? And, you know, like I say, having that voice to say no if you want to.
Yeah, and I think that honesty is an important thing, and I've always been honest with her about the things that I've done when I was younger.
Yeah.
In a hope that there's something that could be learnt there or taken from it,
course.
or that if she's in a similar situation, she won't be like, "Oh, Dad doesn't know."
Yeah.
You know, like that Dad can actually be of help.
Yeah.
Here, because he's been in something similar.
Exactly. And there's tons of helplines as well. Do you know?
So it doesn't have to be from friends or family.
No, it doesn't have to be.
You can get outside help.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. And a lot of those are anonymous, but they obviously still have their safeguarding protocol. So if, you know, they were worried about anybody, then they would, you know, they've got a protocol to follow. But I think sometimes that can really help anybody, do you know, young or old. It's just, or in the middle.
Yes.
It's because sometimes it's harder to go to friends and family, isn't it, with things, but having that kind of neutral space can be really, really, really positive.
Yeah, I guess from friends and family, there's the worry of judgment, and you know, how's this going to affect things happening in the future? And there's lots of thoughts that go along with that. Whereas if you can get outside help, you don't have that. Those same worries.
No, I agree. I think that's changing slightly, the judgmental part of thing. I think most hopefully, I think a lot, well, not most, but a lot of people, families, you know, services, etc., come from a really non-judgmental place. And I think that kind of then opens up conversations more, doesn't it? And I think that's where we make change, is through opening up conversation, basically. So, yeah, I do think that has changed slightly. Even, you know, working in schools and stuff, schools are so supportive on the whole. Yeah, really, you know, and really just want the best for people. And, you know, it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done that. It's like, okay, let's find out why you've done that. Let's find out how we're going to make it better.
Yes.
And I think that's how any of us are going to make change, isn't it? Kind of through that understanding, I think.
Yeah, that judgment thing weighs on us heavy. And I think when I was growing up, I don't know what it was like for you, but when I was growing up in the 90s, I felt like the judgment was there before help.
Yeah.
And so there was, we was trying to, I think we are still the society does try to control us with fear to some degree. But it's good to hear that it's not so heavy in schools now.
No, definitely. And I think that's the main kind of message. I mean, all schools are so different. So you can't say that's for everyone, do you know, or everyone's experience. And it's a bit like if you go to like Tesco or something, do you know, it's like you get bad customer service. It's like I always just wait for the next person to come along and like see somebody else. It does depend a little bit on who you get, doesn't it? So yeah, it's just that's how it is.
Yeah. So with the frequency machine, then this is going to be happening starting in February. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what's the build up to that look like between now? So right now we're just before Christmas. So between now and February, what's going to be happening?
So some really boring stuff, which again, which is the stuff that I always put off because again, the way my brain works, but what I'm doing it. So stuff like the CIC registration, which I'm just waiting for that money to come through from Harlow Council, then I can get that registered because we're on a very tight budget. Get the safeguarding policies, all of that kind of stuff up and running. Getting a board of trustees, advocates, etc. on board. And that's something that I'm going to be putting out online soon. I mean, I've been, again, quite lucky that people have just kind of come to me and said, oh, if you want a trustee. I'm like, yay. So that's really good. And I am going to be really picky with who I have. Do you know, I'm not just going to take people because they've offered, which again is like, it feels like some things just don't sit right in my tummy.
Okay.
Because
intuition.
Yeah, because I kind of just want everyone to kind of be involved, but then at the same time, I know that that's not always the best thing. And it's, I want people that are really passionate and kind of get what we're trying to do, because I think it is probably a little bit outside of the box kind of thing, which is important to me anyway. So, so that, and then I think if people can't be trustees, then they could be advocates. And then I've reached out to a few people that I know, other DJs that have either like quite publicly suffered with mental health or neurodiversity and stuff like that, because I would like there to be a real wide range of like people that are running workshops, people that are trustees, etc., people that are advocates, because I think then we can reach more people. Do you know, if you're growing up and you see somebody that's more relatable to you or what you're going through, then the more likely you are to reach out, I think, in my head anyway.
Sounds to me like you're trying to build a community. You're
Yeah,
trying to build, you're at the beginning here of building a community. I speak to a lot of people on this podcast that have got established communities, but I'm finding this really interesting. This is at the birth of something.
Yeah, no,
this is at the beginning. You're planting the seed, and you're just starting to water it, and we're about to see what's going to grow
exactly.
here. And so you're trying to bring other people along for the ride that are like you say, are the right people for it, but a mixture.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we've got all that kind of stuff. And yeah, in the background, I'm starting to write the workshops up, which will, like I said, will be a 6-week course. And yeah, Essex Youth Service, like I said, are going to kind of tap into that. So we're going to start with teenagers first, like through, I think probably the Hare Street Youth Club. So that will all come out once that's all planned properly. And then we've got a fundraiser. So we literally, like I say, we've got no money. I've got no money. I haven't worked since April. I'm not going to pretend that I have, because I'm not like privileged enough to have that. But it's, money's money, isn't it? And like I say, people have been really kind already. We had a crowdfunder up, which is still kind of running. I think we got £550 in the end.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. Harlow Council gave us £500. The Essex Youth Service are very kindly giving us their stuff, like their DJ equipment and the silent disco stuff, which is really cool. And So we've got a fundraiser coming up on the 19th of December, which will be a family event. It's like a family Christmas get together. We're going to have Father Christmas, like party Father Christmas, who's not, just going to kind of hand out some sweets and just have a bit of a dance and stuff. We've got some really cool DJs. We've got one of our DJs is going to go now back to back with a young family friend of theirs. I think he's 9 or 10. So it's like kind of bringing in that whole kind of nice, family holistic vibe kind of thing. We've got a raffle. It should be fun. It should be just everybody get together. It's pay what you can. I don't want to, that's the other thing that I want to be at the heart of Frequency is just equality as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? I don't want people to miss out.
Money being a barrier.
Exactly.
Money being a barrier to entry. I find that everything that's been beneficial to me in my life, I wouldn't be here today if money was a barrier. I wouldn't be doing this now. I don't know where I would be if that was the case. And there are a lot of things that pop up that particularly for young people, your parents have to be wealthy. Your parents need to have a high income to be able to afford you to do that activity, or you need money yourself. And when I've done my theatre stuff in the past, I've always made sure myself that money isn't a barrier to entry. It doesn't need to be the reason why you can engage with this this art form.
No, and I think you're right, because I think theatre and music kind of equally, maybe theatre slightly more, so has become quite elitist. So like gig tickets and stuff, like they're looking at 70 quid for a ticket now, and that's a lot of money for a lot of people.
The West End, you go to the West End, and it's pricing everyone out of those seats. Exactly. You can go and see The Lion King for £500 a seat.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's there's so many children and families missing out on that experience, and potentially what that could encourage them for the rest of their life and give to them.
But it's exactly that, isn't it? Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, it's the same like. Well, for me, when I was younger, it's like books, films, music. Do you know what I mean? That's all I did. Like, we didn't really go anywhere. Do you know? We did, but it would be like a once a year kind of thing, which is, it's fine. We really appreciated it. But I would sit in a tree at the end of my garden reading a book, just like watch films with my mum for hours and like be in my room for a long time just listening to Wham and, Ross and stuff because I'm cool. So it's a form of escapism, do you know? And I think also, again, it goes back to the times that we're living in. I think they're
escapism is more important than ever right now.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
Right now,
yeah.
It's funny actually. I was sitting here with a friend last night, and I was saying to her about how I live in escapism, and I was like, maybe I'm a little bit nuts that I'm living in I'm doing all this creative stuff all the time, and I'm living in all these things that I'm creating, and maybe that's not good. And she's like, what are you talking about? That's the best place to be. You are so lucky that you've managed to find a space like that. She was like, just shut up, because that's where we all should be, in that space of creativity and escapism.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with how bad the world can be.
That's the thing. I think I've shifted massively in the last, I don't know, say 10 years or something. Because I was organically a very political person, but watch the news. You know what I mean? I was very angry at the world a lot of the time because the world is really unjust, and it didn't again sit with me. But then I read a book, and it was like, you should not read the news, basically, which I now completely agree with, because I think a lot of it's most of it's propaganda anyway. But it's I find that even though, so I've my mental health has suffered since I was really little, about 14. I remember it being really difficult, and I still go through these bouts. But I know that I keep myself in a bubble, which I always would disagree with. If you asked me this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, no, you need to know what's going on, and you need to, do you know what I mean? Be this angry advocate for everybody that hasn't got a voice, etc. But I think I sometimes feel a bit selfish, but then I think I'm probably I'm definitely a calmer, nicer person, hopefully.
Yes.
But kind of keeping myself in my little escapist bubble.
I think it's protection.
Yeah, it is.
I think there's, I believe wholeheartedly that there's an agenda, like you say, propaganda coming from the news. And if you can easily see that if you look at different news channels.
Yeah.
So if you watch the BBC compared to Sky News, you're being fed being fed the same story, but with a different message.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just through two major news corporations. And then you spread that around social media and all the things that you've got going on there. There's an agenda and a message being fed to you, and we don't need that all the time.
No, we don't. No, not at all.
I believe in being informed.
Yeah.
So I think completely shutting yourself off to the world can be a little bit can be dangerous.
Yeah, of course.
But the over consumerism that we have now on it is bad for us. For sure.
I really hate going into homes when it's been a lot of when people have the TV on all the time. And I had a friend, we're not friends anymore, but who would walk into a living room and the TV, like Sky News, would be on
constant
the whole day. And it's like, I can't.
Yes,
I mean, I've got a little bit of a neurodivergent brain anyway, but I can't deal with that noise all the time.
No,
but also, it's such a distraction, and it is just
it's being fed. Something's being
right into your home and into your consciousness. Do you know? So I agree. Like, I don't shut myself off completely, but I kind of dip in and out. Yeah,
because I think it does just make all of us angry and sad, and I think the majority of people. I believe the majority of people are good.
Yeah, no, I do.
and want good, and that's why it makes us angry.
Yeah.
Because
but also it lends into that thing you mentioned, fear, before. And I think it lends into that kind of culture of fear. And then people don't want to go out and they don't want to see people and they don't, they worry about this and that and whatever. But actually the world is all right. Like, do you know, I just kind of, kind of get out there and kind of do what it is that I want to do. Like, I'm careful, but I won't be ruled by fear because I don't, I genuinely, I'm exactly the same as you. I think most people are all right. They're good, you know. But we have these incidents that happen, and I think, like you say, the way that it's fed into us, it feels much more magnified than it is, you know. So it's I do understand why people end up like being scared to do things, but I don't think it's right. So it's again, it's just
life is here to, I think it's here to be enjoyed.
Yeah, of course.
So and if we're consuming too much of all this outside noise, then we won't enjoy it. But I think both of us are just giving a great example of how we have been in spaces where we didn't enjoy it. There was that period of time in COVID where all I did was consume the news. At one point, I was waking up and going on Twitter and seeing how bad the world was for 3 or 4 hours at one point.
Yeah.
And that was terrible. That was an awful period of my life.
I think lots of people did it at that time though, because it was a scary time and it was just unprecedented, wasn't it? Do you know, we didn't know what we were doing, and it's just. I think probably that was a major shift for me as well, because my children would want to watch the news. They'd want to watch Boris at like whatever time it was.
It'd almost be the highlight of the day at one point, wasn't it?
Do you know, it just felt like. And then I look back and I think, why were we doing that? Why did we let that man tell us what we were doing?
Yeah.
Like it's really interesting. But I think it was a lot of it. I mean, for me, I was working at Minds at the time, and we. Just setting up a service, and we've just gone into schools. I started there in January, and obviously we all got locked down in the March.
Yeah.
And then it was like we were trying to set up a service. We couldn't get in schools, couldn't help people. Like, how are we going to do this? So we had to kind of be informed on some level by somebody. And unfortunately, it was like the current government, but the government at the time. But it's just, I just think they would have all given the same message anyway, because, that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, I see that period of time as, if I try and take a positive on it, because there was a lot of negative there, but the positive thing that I try and take is I see it as a reset moment, as it was a moment to pause in life and a moment to start again. And yes, that did feed, and a lot of negativity was there, and a lot of mental health issues came from that, and for some people a lot of illness came from it as well. But as I look back, I'm like, actually, I needed that moment. Personally, I needed that moment to stop, pause, and reset.
It's always good to take a positive, isn't it? It's been really interesting, I think, especially in terms of like child development and things like that. I know that when I was working in schools, there's a massive kind of delay almost for certain classes and certain year groups and things, because they weren't given that social interaction and things. And I think, if you wanted to turn that into a positive, it goes back to what we're trying to do, is that, you get so much, don't you, from interacting with other people and kind of taking a positive. So hopefully if we end up for frequency building the community that I have in my brain, it'd be lovely. And I think it will be a supportive network that can happen outside of like the groups that we run, and people can kind of set up hopefully offshoots from that. I know that my eldest child goes to Livewire, and Livewire's been amazing.
Yeah, my daughter's been to Livewire as well,
it's
and
really good.
and actually they've been on the podcast a couple of times.
How nice! Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Sam's brilliant, doing amazing. Yeah. He is a real community champion in this town.
Yeah, he really is
doing some amazing work.
Yeah, so I'm going to get in contact with them. I think because I was fortunate enough to be involved in Hearts and Essex Community Farm from the inception of that.
Yes.
Obviously set up by Elliot Woolen, and so I was a trustee for them, and it's only been really since the lockdown that I haven't engaged as much there as I would have done. But like I know through them, I know loads of other community groups that are just amazing, like Roots to Wellbeing being one of them, Changing Lives, etc. Rock School. I think we're so lucky in Harlow to have this amazing community.
Yes, yeah.
And like we said before, like it does get a bad rap, Harlow, but I've never lived anywhere that has got such a big heart, really, and like everywhere. Like we have one of the highest levels of deprivation, I think, in Essex as a town. But I think in spite of that, there's still this beauty and people just generally want to help each other. So like how lucky are we, It's great.
It's I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky for the things that this town has done for me and for the things it has done for my children as well. I've seen that. But you're right, at the same time, there is a side to this town that isn't working. There is high deprivation in this town. There is also, I found out recently that Harlow, this town, has one of the biggest rates of obesity in young children.
Oh, really?
And there is a question at the moment, why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that the case? I think I know the answer, actually. I think we've got too many chicken stops that have become the new youth clubs. Like they've become youth clubs.
I think fast food is definitely, again, it's like, it's everything in moderation, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with a burger or whatever. I'm not a fan of those.
But for the chicken, place to hang out.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's the engagement with things like you're about to do and maybe Harlow Rock School, that should be amplified more.
But so this is what I find really interesting, because I did another podcast recently on TikTok and a couple of people from Harlow logged in and they were saying, they were like really, positive what I was trying to do. And they said, the problem is there's not enough youth services in Harlow. And I was, but there is. There's tons of them. But how much do we know about them? Do you know, I think sometimes there's so many. And I think people rely on things like Facebook, for example, but like the algorithms just aren't getting the good things out there.
No, so the algorithms now there's no more such a thing as things what do they call it, like popping off or going viral.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go viral, if you want your message to be shared and seen, you've got to pay for it.
You've got
to boost that post.
Yeah.
You've got to give Facebook your money,
which I refuse to do still. So I'll probably shoot myself in the foot. But it's like I won't engage in that. Do you know? I think there's got to be ways you can reach people.
That is so. Facebook boosting posts is how I've sold tickets for all of my shows when I used to do theatre shows. Every penny came through that.
Okay, interesting.
And I see Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as a bit like drug dealers. They gave it to us for free in the beginning so that we got a taste of it, so that we saw it worked. And now they're saying, give us all your money if you want more of it. And so it started to become about 10% of my ticket sales, like money wise, was for boosting Facebook posts.
Interesting.
And you're not going to find stuff on there organically anymore.
No,
you're not going to hear about the youth services. So word of mouth needs to be
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think when I've been out and about, I mean, I was recently in the Playhouse and I spoke to two lovely ladies who were childminders, and I was telling them what I was doing, and they linked me in with employability. They were like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" And then, before you know it, you've kind of like then chatting to somebody down the hall, and then you've got, and then actually the same day I had spoke to Essex Recovery Foundation. And they were like, "Oh, you should come and work at our festival." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." Do you know what I mean? And that's all from being in a little corridor in the Playhouse one Wednesday morning. Do you know?
Connecting back in the real world.
Exactly.
I think all of us started to think the connection space was social media, whereas actually this connection space, like we're having here, sitting down, meeting for the first time and connecting. And when you go to places, when you're in a corridor with someone and you're having a chat, that's where the real connections are being built, and that's where things are really growing and happening.
No, I agree.
I think with this isn't growing on Instagram and Facebook yet, but the actual podcast itself on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts is growing because of my real world connections.
That's brilliant.
Because I've gone into environments where I know these conversations are relevant to people, and they're people that I want to engage with, and I want to build communities as well in the real world. Yeah. Without important. Giving Facebook all my money. Yeah, exactly. Because I haven't got any.
No, exactly. So maybe then, like, kind of what we've highlighted is that we're kind of going full circle with stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because this is how it used to be, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
People would actually just chat and like have a cup of tea or whatever. And then I think there's been so much push on social media, do you know? But even young people, I think my youngest son doesn't have any social media. He's
No.
15, and that's a choice of his. He's like, why do I want to waste my life like looking at other people's stuff? Like, which is a really valid
it's funny,
point.
my son's the same. My son's 20.
Oh, wow.
And he doesn't have, he has Instagram and he puts on there occasionally something random.
Yeah.
But he's not interested really.
But that's good though, isn't it?
And I'm like, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And even my daughter actually, where she's doing her music, I'm actually trying to encourage her to share her music on there, but she's not really interested either.
Oh, okay.
Which is I'm finding quite interesting. I don't want to force her with anything with her music. I don't, I want it to come from her. But I was kind of under the impression that that's where she needs to be. But she's like, I want to be out there playing in front of people.
Oh, good on her.
I don't want to be just in my bedroom on my own.
What kind of music does she play?
Rock music
cool.
is really her thing.
Yeah.
However, I say that it's all music.
Oh, nice.
Like she doesn't just sit in one box.
Yeah, good.
She does well with rock music, I think, because of the engagement with the audience. So when she's up on the stage, there is that she's telling them how to jump, and she's telling them when to clap, and she's getting people moving. And I think rock music does that.
Yeah, of course.
Rock music has a space for that, but she just all music.
Good.
All music with her. So.
I think it's really because I'm a bit like that because I like pretty much all genres of music, but it's I find that when I play, I was having this conversation with my boyfriend last night actually, I don't think people know what box to put me in, so I don't get generally booked for like one event, or I'm not, because I kind of like flit around, and I can play pretty much anything because I have that wide taste in music, but then sometimes I think it alienates me a little bit because people are like, oh,
yeah, the commercial side of things. I think when we're looking for something to buy, we like to know what we're getting.
Yeah.
And so there is that problem in the creative industries of putting people in boxes.
But then I'm always like driven by a David Bowie quote, who so obviously he's like a god.
Yes.
But he said something along the lines that won't be like perfect, but he released an album and people were complaining that it wasn't David Bowie, like it wasn't his sound. And he said, but I don't have a sound. I'm an artist, therefore like I continually evolve and I kind of bring out what's in my soul kind of thing. It wasn't that at all, but it was like, that was the heart of it.
Yes.
And I think the same, like music and theatre, art, like it's an expression of who you are at that time or who you want or what message you want to convey. So it's like, why, like you say, you know, people do get familiar with stuff, don't they? But why? Yeah. People like a comfort zone, don't they? And
It's funny you say that. I've got a David Bowie quote that it resonates with me, and it goes round in my head, and it's almost like there's this like little voice of David Bowie in my head reminding me of this thing all the time. And it's where it's slightly different, but he was in an interview and he said, never play to the gallery, always work for yourself. And since I've been doing that, not playing to the gallery, and working for myself, my life has been so much better. Because
you know why? Because it's that authenticity, isn't it? It's like if we're not authentic in ourselves, then I don't think we shine as much as we would. Yeah. Do you know? It's like if you're, especially with art forms, I think if you're not really expressing like what you want to, then I think people know. Do you know what I mean? It's
no, 100%. I tried to be an actor for about 15 years. Tried to be a professional actor, and 15 years I was just hitting my head against a brick wall. Because I was trying to do everything everyone told me. Yeah. So everyone said I had to have this type of headshot, and then I'd get that type of headshot, and no, that wasn't quite right. I had to change it to a different headshot. Then I had to do a self-tape in this way, and then it was that way. And it was like always trying to balance what every bit of advice the world was giving me. And nothing was working. No. Nothing was sticking. And every director would come along and tell me to do things in a different way. And I was like, I do everything everyone says, but then I'm not getting anywhere, and no one wants to no one actually wanted to work with me. I came to that conclusion. It was like, I'm not getting hired anywhere. And as I look back, I really strongly believe it's because I was never me.
Yeah, exactly.
In all that 15 years of being an actor, I was never for one moment me. I was always trying to be someone else.
Yeah. That's part of acting now, isn't it?
So it's working out.
No, I'm joking.
No, but I think the best actors are the ones that are themselves, that find themselves within the role.
Yeah. No,
so if you get like Gary Oldman, for example, is one of my favorite actors of all time. He is different in every role that he plays, but he's always himself.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Day-Lewis is the other one that really always screams out to me because I mean the amount of films he's done, you could like, have on one hand, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Because I think they're so well chosen because he wants to challenge himself. And it comes to that, doesn't it? It's very few people that like to be outside their comfort zone.
Yes.
And I do wonder if that's because it goes back to like kind of watching the news or kind of being made to feel that we have to kind of go in one direction. Do you know what I mean? When we don't, like, at all, you know. And I think it's really hard to come outside of some of those societal norms to kind of be yourself. I think that it takes a lot. Like it takes a bravery or that realization like you had, do you know what I mean, to actually really go down there and to kind of be yourself 100%. So yeah.
David Bowie also said, if you're comfortable, something's wrong.
Yes. yeah. Which I really like that. Yeah. So we're right then. See.
Yeah. Let's just listen to David Bowie all day long, and we'll have the answers.
He said it all. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, we're really working some things out here, aren't we? It's amazing. It's amazing when we do this on the podcast.
No, it's great.
We really figure.
But I think if we link that then back to like what I'm doing, it's, I really do hope that we can create something which I do think like Live Wire and Rock School and stuff have anyway, so it's not really like, it's not anything brand new, but it's giving young people that space to kind of, just to be themselves and kind of realise that they have other options, do you know?
Yes, yeah.
I think it's really important, especially with the government agenda to really like push maths on everybody. So why would you do that? I can't, like, maths is not like...
No, it's this thing of pushing maths, English, maths, English, science on every single kid. Like I came out of school because of that with nothing.
Oh, really?
I'm dyslexic and I think in the 90s there was a lot of that. Let's push the math, science and English.
Always, yeah.
And it did nothing for me. I could not engage with it. And I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid, but school made me think I was.
But this is what I said, like, we have different ways of learning, don't we? Do you know? And I think, I feel sorry for schools as well. Like, I think a lot of them do a really good job.
Oh, the teachers are amazing.
They're really amazing.
And whenever I go off about schools, I always have to
they're amazing.
Underline it with I haven't personally actually met a bad teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes they can be a bit misguided.
Yeah, of course.
But overall, they start the job for a good reason.
Of course they do. But at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to cater to individual needs for 30 children in 1 hour lesson. Do you see what I mean? So it's like they don't have the time or the resources, etc., to do that. And that's kind of what I'm saying with our little workshops is I want to try and incorporate different learning styles for everybody and try and help as many people as I can in one session. But you're never going to please everybody or cater to everybody's needs because it's impossible. So I really feel for teachers, and I think, God, when I was at school, I hated maths. I literally hated it so much. And it was the only GCSE I failed, and I kind of did all right, like in the middle with all the others. But the way I am, if I don't love it, then I won't give it any attention. And I still, even now, I get that like teenager attitude. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Do you know what I mean? Because it just like irritates me because I don't want to. There's many more fun things to do.
Yeah, it doesn't work with the way that your brain is set up to function. And I also have come to the conclusion. I believe we all have a purpose.
Of course.
And within that purpose, I think there's a discovery that we have to do that. And wouldn't it be great if schools were a place to help people discover what their purpose was, rather than tell them? That's I think the problem with schools at the moment. I think they're telling us that we're all made to work in a factory. Yeah. From what it was set up to be like 100 years ago in this world. And that isn't the world now. No, that isn't the world that we're moving into.
No. And it goes down to things like uniform and stuff. Do you know? It's like, my eldest likes a piercing and stuff. He's really desperate to have tattoos. So obviously that's not till next year.
Identity.
But you can't have an identity. Do you know? And again, although I understand it, and they like to try and alleviate any kind of people that are living in poverty and so they like everybody to kind of be in the same kind of outfit and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
But I think it takes away that opportunity to express yourself. Yeah. And I do wonder if it's kind of halted, that the longer it's halted for, then when do you kind of realise actually I can be something different or there is an alternative? I don't know.
I've got a friend that's a school teacher, and he says he wishes he could get into a place of being able to make a change in the school system. Yeah. And the first thing he'd do is he would remove school ties.
Oh, really?
He says that would change so much overnight.
Why does he think that?
Because of that restricting children, that keeping them, putting them all exactly the same, all the problems that you have around school ties. we don't wear ties as adults so much anymore.
God, no, not
You
at
know,
all.
it's not it was a fashion statement 100 years ago for everyone to wear a tie.
Yeah.
It was but it's not a thing now. How many people do you see going into work in London wearing a tie?
Well, exactly.
We kind of wear them at weddings and funerals, and that's it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't fit in our society anymore. So why are we forcing all these kids to wear a tie?
I know.
Why are we putting so much effort and energy into that? Then we could be creating really strong, independent human beings that go off to do amazing things.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which a lot of them do, a lot of them do. But yeah, like I say, I just think sometimes it takes a long time. Like you said about your journey, it's been different, So, and I think that about myself, and I think that's why I'm so like passionate about helping young people, because I think actually if somebody had helped me when I was younger, I wouldn't have spent so many years just trying to figure life out by myself and kind of stumbling from one thing to another. I think my what I'm doing now would have happened a lot sooner, do you know? So it's interesting, isn't it? I think the more support you get, the younger you are, the more benefit it will have, hopefully.
So one thing you said to me that I wanted to make sure that we covered when you first reached out to me, because a friend have been on the podcast and things, you sent me a message, and on the end of your message you said, music is the answer.
Yeah.
Why is that?
For lots of reasons. I think music is very emotive. It's very subjective. So we take from music what we want to, and there should be a message that we take, and we kind of find either comfort or joy in that, one or the other. I think, again, going back to working with young people, and we will offer these workshops to adults at some point as well, but like I say, I'm trying to do little steps. And then I forgot what I was going to say. So, it's about the emotional regulation. So I think we can use music actually to up and down regulate when we need to. So I think especially like for me, I'm a very excitable person. So like I listen to a lot of music. Like Laura Marlin is my go-to, like every time. Like she's genius, like just wonderful. So she's my down regulation show, and she really helps me to like contemplate the world and reflect on it in a different way every time. And I hear different things in her lyrics that I hadn't heard before, and she's just amazing. I just love her. Or Joni Mitchell or Bob Dylan. Do you know they're my people?
They're your people. You connect with them. You found something there that's helped you in your life.
Exactly. But then obviously with dance music, like sometimes, like Saturday I turned up to a gig and I never turn up late, like ever. And I turned up with like literally 2 minutes to go, and I hadn't had time to kind of look at the room or judge the vibe or anything, and I was a little bit stressed and and so I was like, right, what song am I going to play first? Because I knew the room that I was going to play, and I knew the crowd, so I didn't plan anything. Often I plan my sets because I can kind of preempt how the room's going to be, hopefully, but then I can change it if I need to. But so anyway, I started with a remix of a Stevie Wonder track, which is I Wish, actually, and it was just phenomenal, do you know? And so it helped me to upregulate straight away, because I was a bit like, bit all over. So then I immediately focus. The room like kicks off. It was beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
It brings you into the moment. It brings you into the space now.
So I think we can use music for that up and down regulation, which is fantastic. I do think I've met most of my friends. I think I've met through music. Scanning them all. I've either met through music or they have really good taste in music, and if they don't, I educate them on what good music is. So I think music is a real connector. So same as like food, same as, do you know what I mean? It's there's certain connectors that we have as human beings. So I do think music is that. And then you kind of hinted to the obesity levels and things like that. Music, like we dance, you know, you move, and then you're exercising. And for me, I'm not an exerciser like at all. Like I walk and I dance, and that's it. Like I don't want to feel like I'm forced to exercise. It's just not my thing. I really admire everybody that is, but it's just not for me. So I think with dancing, you are exercising without realising, and an hour's gone by and you've just had a great time, but actually you've released endorphins. You've got done however many calories or whatever it is. You've done something really positive. So I think all of those things, that's why I think music is the answer to so many things, because it connects us, helps us exercise, it makes us feel brighter, help us reflect. It does serves so many different functions, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it was, when you said that music is the answer, it really resonated with me, because that's a core of why I started doing this.
Oh, really?
Because I wanted to spread that message.
Oh.
Because I felt like it's not. I feel like there's a lot of the world that doesn't quite understand that. That I have seen it with my own eyes. God, my daughter's going to hate it if I put this episode out because I'm talking about her so much.
I'm sure she'll love it.
When she's older, maybe.
Yeah.
But I watched her going through a really, really bad time. She was struggling, and I saw how music pulled her out of that.
Yeah, amazing.
I saw how music pulled her out, and it gave her strength in her life, and it gave her power as well, and it's transforming her into the person that she's going to become. And I was blown away by it, and I was blown away by the Harlow Rock School, how they embraced her and gave her opportunities, and at her school. There was a music teacher at her school that gave her the opportunity to come in early every day and play with the musical instruments, that gave her the opportunity to escape other classrooms and do music. And it was music that propelled her to be strong again.
That's so nice.
And so I was like, why aren't we all talking about this? Why isn't this known that we can use music in that way to transform ourselves, to help ourselves and help others?
Well, this is the other thing, isn't it? And so the name Frequency Machine, I know you haven't asked for it, I'm just going to
no,
is that, isn't it? We can heal ourselves through the power of music, through frequency. And actually that was something that was taught to me not that long ago about machines that used to exist, Rife machines that were frequency machines, that different frequencies can heal different parts of us. And so therefore then music is doing the same thing, right? Like surely. So, and I think that's the other thing that I was thinking, is that I think sometimes we rely so much on outside sources to kind of help us, or we feel that we don't have it in us to kind of, have that power to help ourselves, but actually we do in so many ways. It doesn't mean that we can do everything, obviously, but there's so much that we can do. And I think that's kind of, obviously, my two loves are food and music, like basically. So how do I kind of help people to like look at how you can help yourself? So like going back to the stuff with the community farm, there was an offshoot of that called Harlow Grows, and, teaching people to grow vegetables at home. And even if you have a tiny space, which I have a tiny space, but we can still, can grow tomatoes from like your ceiling, from hanging baskets and stuff like that. And we don't have to rely on supermarkets or, big pharma or anything. We've actually got a lot of that support in ourselves anyway. So why aren't more people talking about it? I agree.
Hopefully we're in a space where we can talk about it more now.
Exactly.
I think I'd like to think the world is starting to open up to that more. I'm meeting more and more people that are more aware of it, and I hope through what we're doing here, sharing it,
of course,
spreads the awareness, sharing our stories, our experiences of how it has helped us. So what advice would you give to anyone that was perhaps in a dark space and like, well, where do I start with music? What do I just put the radio on and I'm going to feel better? Like, what is the starting point?
Do you know what? It's a really good question. I don't know, because everybody's different. Do you know? And I think if you're in a really dark space, I know when I have been, reaching out is like the hardest thing. It's like literally the hardest thing. So I do hope sometimes, I thought this when we were in the mental health support team in schools, I think there's still like the same with lots of different forms of help. I think there's still, even though there's less judgment, like we said at the beginning, I think there's still kind of people worry about that connotation, I think. So the more that we kind of have these conversations and we do open up, hopefully the easier it is. But I know it's really tough to reach out if you're struggling. So where do you start? It depends on the person, doesn't it? Do you write words down? Do you kind of like start music yourself? Do you put the radio on? It just depends what resonates with you. I don't think there's a prescription or anything to kind of, say, do this. But you've got to try stuff, which again, if you're in a low mood or depression, like that's really hard just to get that starting point. But I think the more, like we said, the more kind of little hubs we have around and, people can kind of come in and kind of speak, and that's like my dream for Frequency, and I'm going to put it out to Harlow Council, is that within the new kind of art and music kind of quarter that we're going to have in the town, I want something that is accessible, like all the time, like, do you know what I mean, from like before school to like early evening kind of things that, we can run workshops in, we can have kind of like drop-ins, you can have like, do you know what I mean, you just walk past and it looks like a nice, shiny, friendly, happy place, because I think again, like, because there's so little money in services, sometimes these services are like hidden away, like trying to find you. I know you're not a service, but
No.
things like that. So how can we help people if everything's kind of not given the attention that it needs, do you know? So that's kind of what my dream is to have something really kind of bright and shiny in the middle of the town centre, because that's where kids go, and that's how you're going to get them away from chicken stop.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And actually, the town centre's not a bad space for something like this to happen. If we look at town centres all over the country, they're all quiet and dying, actually, aren't they? There's a lot of empty spaces that could be put to good use. And I actually think that the town centres should and could be community spaces.
Yeah.
They don't need to be for consumerism.
No.
They don't need to be for, we don't need another Tesco's. We don't need another Starbucks. It could be for spaces for people to come and find others and
I agree.
And connect.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, in Harlow Town Centre, we're quite lucky. I mean, like, I've been going to the Playhouse a lot. Like I say, they have stuff going on all the time, and they're amazing. You've got Maybury, you've got St Paul's Church. There is a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know, the food bank are wonderful. You know, they're really, there is so much support. So I do think, I would just wonder if that's the way that Harlow's going, you know. And I think with that new space that we're going to have in the town, it sounds amazing to me. It sounds amazing.
Yes, yeah.
I think, and if we can have a mixture of kind of like venues and then, you know, support like hopefully that I'm going to offer, then, you know, all the better.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I've got one final question for you.
Okay.
This is a new question. It's a big one, and I think we've kind of covered this quite a bit. It's a question that I'm looking to ask all of my guests. It's so big.
Okay.
And there might not even be an answer to it. How do we make this a better world? How would you make it a better world?
Through what we're doing, to be honest. I think there's, like I said, there's so much heart out there. And it's just making people see it, I think. And I hope that the shift away from social media, like social media can be a really positive thing. And again, I think working with young people, I think a lot of the time the people, or especially adults, think, oh, like social media is a really negative place. And it can be, but it's just like anything. Like everything's got pros and cons, like literally everything. So I just think getting people to connect more, getting them out, giving them some food, listen to music. You know, I do think there's just it's going back to basics, isn't it? Just some really simplistic stuff, but with a modern twist, maybe. I don't think any of it's rocket science. I don't think we need a magic wand. I think it's just doing that. Yeah, which sounds really, really
play the music
simple.
And connect.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Marrisa.
No,
I
thank
really
you.
do appreciate it. I'm so excited to see what's going to be happening with the frequency machine.
Yeah, me too.
So send stuff my way. We'll share it. We'll add links in the comments below.
Thank you.
So that if anyone wants to find out. But if you could just tell me, where do people find out more about the frequency machine and you?
So we have a Facebook, Instagram and TikTok page. Facebook and Instagram for Frequency and myself, Little M. And then TikTok is just under me at the minute, but then I share loads of frequency stuff. So I'm quite new to TikTok, so I'm still like a little bit tentative around it. And just get in touch. So we've got an email address, which is frequencymachineharlow@gmail.com. So just drop me an email if you want to get involved, if you're interested in being a trustee. Only one other thing that I wanted to say is that we have an open photo shoot coming up on the 21st of December. So it's like an open deck photo shoot craft thing. So just kind of amalgamating everything together so people can come and kind of just get involved and play a bit of music. I'm hopefully going to have the silent disco headphones there just so that it's not too overwhelming or loud for anybody. And then if people can come and they don't have to be involved in the photos, there's a way of kind of opting out of those. If they just want to come and just have some fun, it's going to be at the Harlow Playhouse 1 till 3 on the 21st of December. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
Be a busy weekend, that one.
Yeah. No, wonderful. Well, thanks again, Marrisa. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if anyone has been watching or listening to this conversation, we appreciate you for joining us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wonderful.